It doesn't hit you in a breakdown. It hits you in silence. One scroll, one post, someone your age getting married, promoted, settled, and suddenly your chest feels heavy. You're not jealous. You're not angry. You just feel late, like everyone else got a map to life, and you're still standing there, wondering how you missed the turn. If you've ever felt that quiet panic, this video is for you. From the outside, your life looks fine. You still show up. You still respond to messages. You still laugh at the right moments. You still say things like, "I'm figuring it out." But inside, there's a quiet panic ticking away. A question that repeats itself in the background of your mind. What is wrong with me? Psychology has words for this feeling, but none of them fully capture its weight. Because this isn't just comparison. This isn't just insecurity. This isn't just low confidence. This is the deep, unsettling sense that time is moving faster for everyone else and slower for you. People who feel behind often carry an invisible clock in their mind. Not a real clock, a social clock, a clock built from expectations, milestones, and unspoken deadlines. By this age, you should be here. By now, you should have that. At this point, your life should look a certain way. And when your reality doesn't match that timeline, your mind doesn't respond with curiosity. It responds with judgment. Here's what most people don't realize. Feeling behind rarely comes from actual failure. It comes from internalized timelines you never consciously chose. Timelines absorbed from family, from culture, from school, from movies, from social media, from the stories you grew up watching. By the time you reach adulthood, these timelines feel like facts instead of opinions. And once that belief settles in, your brain starts filtering reality through it. You don't just notice where you are. You obsess over where you aren't. You stop measuring progress. You start measuring distance. Distance from where you think you should be. Psychology calls this temporal self-discrepancy. That's a complicated phrase for a very simple pain. The person you are today feels painfully out of sync with the person you thought you would be by now. And every day, that gap feels wider, heavier, harder to ignore. People in this state often say the same thing. I feel stuck, even when they're technically moving. They're learning, working, surviving, improving in small ways. But none of it feels like it counts, because it doesn't match the imagined version of success they're holding themselves against. And here's the cruel paradox. The more behind you feel, the harder it becomes to move forward. Because this feeling doesn't just hurt emotionally. It changes how your brain functions. When the mind believes it's failing a timeline, it enters a constant state of low-grade threat. Not full panic, not fear you can clearly name, just a persistent pressure in the background. This pressure narrows attention, reduces creativity, makes decisions feel heavier, turns simple choices into risks. Trying something new feels dangerous, because what if it confirms you're already too late? Committing to a path feels terrifying, because what if it's the wrong one and wastes even more time? Rest feels undeserved, because you haven't earned it yet. So people freeze, not because they're lazy, not because they lack ambition, but because their nervous system is overloaded with the belief that time is running out. This is why so many people who feel behind also feel exhausted. Even when their life doesn't look demanding on the surface, they are constantly mentally rehearsing alternative lives. Lives where they started earlier, chose better, knew sooner, spoke up, took risks, didn't waste time. The brain doesn't experience these thoughts as imagination. It experiences them as loss. And grief, even imagined grief, is heavy. Another layer rarely talked about is shame. Not loud shame, quiet shame. The kind that whispers. The kind that makes you avoid questions like, "So, what are you doing these days?" The kind that makes you downplay your own efforts before anyone else can. This shame isn't rooted in reality. It's rooted in comparison-based identity. When your sense of worth becomes tied to progress relative to others, your identity becomes fragile. You don't ask, "Am I growing?" You ask, "Am I growing fast enough compared to them?" And comparison is a race with no finish line. Psychological research shows something important. Humans are not built to compare themselves to hundreds or thousands of peers at once. For most of history, comparison happened inside small communities. Today, your brain compares your private, unfinished life to everyone else's highlight reel, and your mind doesn't know the difference. It interprets constant upward comparison as proof of inferiority. That's why feeling behind often comes with a distorted self-image. People start believing they are slower, less capable, fundamentally defective. They rewrite their personal story to explain the delay. I'm just bad at life. Everyone else figured it out except me. I missed my chance. But these aren't insights. They're conclusions drawn from incomplete data. Here's what's rarely acknowledged. Feeling behind is often a sign of delayed alignment, not delayed ability. Many people move slowly because they're trying to build a life that actually fits them. And fit takes time, especially in a world that rewards speed over depth. People who feel behind are often more reflective. They question paths instead of blindly following them. They hesitate not because they're incapable, but because they're trying to avoid building a life they'll later need to escape from. But reflection doesn't look impressive on a timeline. There's no post for inner clarity, no applause for choosing not to rush, no celebration for outgrowing dreams that weren't yours. So from the outside, it looks like stagnation. From the inside, it's often quiet reconstruction. Another overlooked factor is emotional backlog. Many people who feel behind spent earlier parts of life surviving instead of building. They were dealing with family pressure, emotional instability, self-doubt, unsafe environments, mental health struggles. While others were accumulating achievements, they were learning how to stay afloat. Psychologically, survival mode delays development. When your nervous system is focused on safety, long-term planning shuts down. This isn't failure. It's biology. But later, when life finally calms down, comparison begins. You're safe now, the world says. So why aren't you ahead? Because safety came late, and healing takes time. People underestimate how much unseen work they've already done. Emotional maturity, self-awareness, resilience, empathy. These aren't visible milestones, but they shape the entire trajectory of a life. When pressure builds, people start chasing catch-up energy. Sudden career changes, rushed relationships, commitments made out of fear. Psychology calls this urgency-driven behavior, action fueled by anxiety, not clarity. And it rarely leads to peace. People are often told, stop comparing, go at your own pace. Comforting words, but incomplete. Because the real issue isn't comparison. The issue is identity being attached to speed. When speed equals worth, slowing down feels like disappearing. The real shift begins when you understand this. Life is not a straight line. It's a collection of paths that pause, loop, restart, intersect. Some people sprint early and slow later. Others wander before finding momentum. Some bloom quietly, then rapidly. The brain wants a straight line. Life rarely offers one. Feeling behind doesn't mean you missed your chance. It means conscious choice matters more now than momentum. People who move fast early often follow scripts. People who feel behind are forced to write their own. Harder, lonelier, but more honest. The discomfort you feel is not proof of inadequacy. It's the tension of awareness. And awareness always arrives before change. Eventually, many people who once felt behind realized something quietly powerful. The delay gave them depth. The uncertainty gave them discernment. The slow pace forced them to confront themselves. They didn't miss life. They met it honestly. And that changes everything. If you feel behind right now, it doesn't mean you're late to life. It means you're standing at a threshold. A point where unconscious living is no longer enough. Where borrowed timelines stop working. Where your inner voice wants something real. That moment is uncomfortable, but it's meaningful, because many people never question the path they're on. They just run, and wake up years later wondering why they feel empty despite being on time. You're questioning now, and that matters. Being behind is not a permanent identity. It's a temporary perspective. one that often appears right before clarity, alignment, and a truer kind of forward motion begins. Not louder, not faster, but real.